Country.
Hello, and welcome to episode 3, season 1 of Show Me Ruttin, brought to you by Big Muddie Outdoors. I'm Kenzie.
And I'm Poe.
The 2015 season, deer season, archery and gun, wasn't the easiest or the best. Like most hunters, you go through those lulls and have the hard time getting out there. This past year, October was our lull month, and through that time we would try and read up on anything we could to try and find new strategies to try and hunt these deer in the bottoms. And one of the articles that I read was about moon phases and moon positioning throughout the day, talking about the overhead and the underfoot, and using that information. It was the weekend of October 7th, and I had a plan to go and hunt one of my ground blinds that I had set up, and then move if the early couple hours wasn't good at that location, and move to try and position myself between known bedding places and feeding areas. So that day on the 7th, I started in a ground blind. I didn't see anything, so I brought my climber with me, and I decided that I was going to move about 8:30, because overhead moon, the moon's going to be directly overhead at our location somewhere between 9 and 11. So 8:30 rolls around. I hadn't seen nothing. I said, I'm going to do this. So put the climber on my back. I start walking in the timber, and again, I know this timber pretty well, but I hadn't been there because I hadn't been in there too much this year because I didn't want to spook the deer from their patterns and get them out of their bedding area. But at this time, we had not had the best luck, so I said, what the heck, I'm going to go in there, I'm going to go after him. So I start wandering, I get into a tree, and it may have been maybe 20 minutes, and I had a buck come by on a trail. I never had a chance to see really what it was, but I had heard him grunting coming up from behind me, and he had followed a trail with nose down, and I knew that I was in the right position. I felt good, and so the next few hours were pretty exciting. I had another small buck come by. Again, couldn't get a shot because at this time the trees still had a lot of green leaves on them. I know it's November, but we had a wet summer and a mild winter so far. So the trees were still pretty green at this time. So I couldn't get a shot. And next thing I know, off in the distance, probably about 80 yards, I see a decent buck, and I'm like, okay, well, let's see what I can do. So I do a little grunt call action, and he actually starts to come my way, and I'm like, oh gosh, this is awesome. This has worked, because I hadn't had the best of luck using calls with the deer down here, and being so thick, I had lost in this deer again, and I kind of got frustrated, but I shot another grunt call, and here he comes in. So I stand up. I'm moving the camera because I'm by myself, because Poe,
I was at Fort Leonard Wood.
Yeah, he was at National Guard because it was the first full weekend of the month. So Poe wasn't there. I was by myself, and I'm moving the camera, trying to get it positioned so everybody can see where the deer's coming from. I'm trying to get my bow, and as you can see on the video, I'm reaching behind my head. I had to bring the bow over my head. I just didn't have the bow placed correctly from where this deer was coming. I thought they would be coming from a different way, but the buck comes in, as you can see, and I've got the camera positioned, and I have a shooting lane right beside one of these trees, and I'm pulled back, and as soon as I see the deer, I release, and it was a premature shot. I didn't wait long enough. On the camera, it looks a little farther than what it was. It was actually maybe 15 yards. I don't even know if it was that. And I didn't try and stop the deer because I knew I didn't want to spook them, because again, I was back in their area. I didn't know how they would react to me trying to stop them with a sound, that wasn't unique to the area or back there. So I trusted myself in the fact that I knew I could put a shot on this deer and it not be able to react because of how close the deer was. But my mistake, I released too early and I shot the deer right in the neck. And to this day, it kills me, because that's one of the ethics of being a bow hunter, is practicing enough to put a good shot on a deer. So I was beating myself up about that, and I called my dad, asked him what I needed to do to double check. So I pulled out from the area. I went and I'm sitting at home because I wanted to give the deer time. If I did get enough or vital, I wanted to give the deer enough time to aspire and pass away. But I went back probably 2-3 hours later. I followed the trail with my mom for probably an hour and a half, and it looked pretty promising at the beginning, but then the blood dried up, and I got to a point where I knew that this deer was either gonna live long enough to get away from me and die, or hopefully he would survive. He had pulled the arrow out. We found the broken arrow, which I, again, feel not very good about because it broke, and so that means there's part of it still in the deer. So to this day, I don't feel very good about my shot, and another reason why bow hunting is so difficult, and that you can never practice enough. Well, lesson learned for me is, even as confident as I am with my bow, there's never enough practice to be had. And there's never a situation out there that you don't know all situations. So practicing different situations, even with targets, is the best way to prepare yourself for unique situations like what happened to me. So I wasn't able to find the deer, and I just had to keep on keeping on, I guess. We kept fighting and kept hunting. So that is one of the sad tales of this story, is I had a chance to take a decent buck and I ruined that opportunity and probably ended up ruining the deer. So you live and you learn.
As Kenzie mentioned earlier, the October lull had hit us, and it hit us hard. It is a very frustrating time for bow hunters, but my biggest thing is public land, and one of my scouting techniques that I use is Google Earth. I always look at the map. You can ask my girlfriend, my mom, my dad, I'm always over there on my phone just during deer season looking at maps. That's all I do. Maybe that's just a big part of me being in the Army. I just constantly checking out the area and see what would be best for deer stands, just trails. You can learn a lot just by looking at Google Earth and, coming up with a plan. Then you go out there and see what it really looks like, and then you just, fix your plan.
Adjust to the actual situations.
Yeah. So the October lull hit, and I'm not seeing anything in the stand. I'm constantly looking for new spots. The area that I was looking at was Baltimore Bend, and one of the key things that I learned in Kansas is it's not the public land itself that you want to look at too, it's the surrounding areas that borders it, because I know it gets tough not having your own land, but like I said, if it's butted up to something that's promising or it looks good, you could adjust your plan using their land by calling, decoys, just anything to draw those deer. The first buck I killed I was on public land, but he came off private. It's just a technique to use, and it worked for me in Kansas. So I was like, well, I'm gonna try it here in Missouri, and I found this spot on Google Earth. We'll bring up a picture so you can see, and it was like a hidden bean field, away from everything, away from the road, and conservation butted right up next to it. So I was like, well, that looks like a good spot. And I sent Kinsey the screenshot of the area, and lo and behold, it was actually his family. His family owned it, Matt and Sherry Thorpe, and their son Tate. So Kinsey had contacted Matt and Sherry, and he got permission. And this is during October. And I was like, all right, cool. You never stop scouting, even though it's deer season already. You keep on looking. So, went out there, and this is the time, late October, mid-October was the time that they're going to start showing their dominance, making scrapes, rubs, anything like that. And we went out there, and sure enough, this buck had a rub line and probably like 4 or 5 scrapes along
right along the timber line.
Right on conservation line. So we found out, we set out 3 trail campers.
3 or 4.
3 or 4
Mm-hmm.
trails leading into the field, and we let them set for a week or 2, and up shows the buck that we call Peaches. No, we nicknamed him Peaches because Matt and Sherry, they had a little peach farm and they sell peaches. So we nicknamed him Peaches, and he is
He's a symmetrical 8.
Yeah, he's as we'll show you pictures of him.
Yeah, and I mean, we got him on game camera multiple times, and we were pretty excited because, like Post said, his investigations of Google Earth, it worked. I mean, there was a deer path. I mean, there was a deer trail in the area that he wanted. And talking with Tate and Matt, they knew the area because it's their land, and they had always talked about where deer had moved. So with that information, we'd set up cameras in the right locations and got this deer. And we went hunting together one time, and just to see how it was. And well, we were getting ready to head down. Actually, we had both our climbers were in the same tree, getting ready to head down, and lo and behold, there he came. It's probably 180, 200 yards out, but he did come out. It was late, but he came out, so we knew that he was still in the area. And then, how many days later? It was a couple maybe. I think it was on a Wednesday or Thursday. In the midweek, you'd went out, right?
Yep. And pretty much the same situation. This buck came out. Peaches, he came out at 90 yards for me, and we'll show you the video of him coming out. Of course, he's walking the other way, which that's the story of a bow hunter.
Yeah, this is probably 2 or 3 weeks before gun season, so, and we had got permission just to bow hunt because they do gun hunt and they take does mostly, but we got permission to bow hunt. So again, like Post said, it's a great video of him, but he didn't come within range for him, and it's disheartening, and another story of a bow hunter not getting a chance just because of the range. So, but you kept hunting that area multiple times. I mean, we set up a 2-man stand there because we still felt confident that we'd have a chance, and maybe even late season. So Tate had a stand that we'd use as well down in the holler on the trail, and then we set up a 2-man next to the bean field.
So as we're approaching gun season, it's a rough time for bow hunters if you haven't gotten a deer on the ground, because everything's about to change when the rut hits and all the firearms get out there, and it sounds like World War III. Yeah. But
especially on public land.
Yes. So November 11th, it's Veterans Day. I decided to take the day off of work, and knowing that rifle season's opening up that Saturday, so I was like, oh, I might as well take the day off since it is Veterans Day and try to, just hunt another day before rifle season ends or starts. And it's the same area where Peaches was located, and I was still after him. I hunted Tate's bow stand, which is in a really good spot because the creek runs right next to it, as I'll show you on the Google image, and it's kind of like a pinch point. Those deer, they have to go right by there if they're traveling next to that creek. And I set up that morning. It was a slow morning until about 8:30. Another rookie mistake too was when you're bow hunting by yourself, having the camera angled in the right spot. So I have it in an area where I believe they're going to be coming off this trail, and I look behind me, and here comes two does, and there's two smaller does, and I was like, all right, well, let's see if they come by this trail, and go figure, they go the other way. They come right in behind me, and having a deer at 10 yards, it's really hard to move, period. So it was just a quick instinct for me to grab my bow and face whichever direction they're at, And I usually don't give up too many 10-yard shots, and that's the reason why I took it, and because rifle season was coming. So I shot this doe at 10 yards, and I was using a Heartcraft broadhead, and got a clean shot through, and she took off. I mean, any bow kill for me, I was excited. And I called Kenzie. I'm like, Kenzie, I got a doe on the ground. I didn't know for sure, but I knew she wasn't going to go far. And then I called my girlfriend Shay and told her about it, woke her up. But I waited for Shay to get out to the deer stand where I was hunting, and I knew where this doe was, and she's new to hunting, period, so I was going to let her follow the blood trail and help me recover this deer. And I thought it was a good learning experience for her, and I'll do it for my kids whenever I have the opportunity, but just to have them follow a blood trail and, just learning as we go, and it was a good experience. And it was a good morning. A good way to celebrate Veterans Day for myself.
Yep. So again, this year, this 2015 year was a huge learning experience for not only myself but Poe as well, because again, we do the best we can to be together in the tree, because it's night and day having that person running the camera. Having to bow hunt alone is difficult, but then trying to have a camera involved makes it just 100 times more difficult. So harvesting that doe was way more important than trying to get it on camera and losing the opportunity. So we didn't get it on camera. We got a picture, but we're learning, and the more we learn, the better we'll get. So we are always trying to get better, and if there's anything out there you guys want to tell us to help us, please do. We're open to any options and any type of information, because there's no ceiling for us. So we appreciate you watching, and stay tuned for episode 4.